friends, welcome back to the channel. This is Dominique from the Pixie Planner. I have a fun video for you today. I will be comparing my Chic Sparrow leather covers to my Planner Perfect ones for you guys. I've had a lot of interest in the difference between each of the companies and their particular leathers, and so I wanted to go ahead and show you what I currently have in my collection and talk a little bit about what I love most about each brand. So as you can see, I have quite a mix of sizes and leathers here. None are very similar, besides actually these two are from the same line, but of course the colors are quite different. So I have a lot of variety in my leathers, and of course there's going to be a lot of difference between the companies because both companies have a very large variety of types of leathers, so I can only talk really about the ones that I currently have. There's so much more to choose from, but again, you know, I will certainly give my honest opinion about the ones that I have. So let's first talk about my Planner Perfect leathers, which are these three right here. Now, I have two wide size traveler's notebooks and one narrow. This is my newest one, and she is called Arabella. This is Hazel, and this is Stella. So Stella was the first one that I purchased, and I'll slide these off to the side just while I'm talking about each one of these. So Stella's the first one that I purchased, and I am very much a fan of brown, and that's why you see the majority of mine are different shades of brown. And so when I came across this one, I loved the fact that it would show some scuffs and marks. I really enjoy leathers that show usage and kind of just tell a story of their own over the years. And so I really gravitated to this one because the description online said that it would really, you know, show its character over time. Now, both companies, their leathers are full grain, which is pretty much top of the line. So each company, Chic Sparrow and Planner Perfect, have full grain leathers. So the quality of both of them is just outstanding. You'll see as I'm talking about each one, the differences lie in the designs of the pockets and the elastics. So with this particular one, this is a narrow. She is definitely a little bit thinner and still on the floppy side, but the structure comes from the pockets. And in the front here, you have one shorter pocket and a taller one that's kind of like a secretarial style. And then right here where the notepad is a pocket where you can slide. I mean, you don't have to have this notepad in here, of course. You can use this for anything you desire, but it's just so perfectly fit for something like this. These notepads come standard in the Planner Perfect Traveler's Notebooks. And this is one of the big highlights for me. When it came to Traveler's Notebooks, I always had a hard time sticking with them because I felt they just didn't work when I had these random things that I had to jot down. Because the notebooks are bound and they're sewn books, I didn't want to waste pages when I knew I wouldn't necessarily need them for just, you know, quick jotting notes or calculating something if I was figuring out a bill or writing down a phone number that I knew I would just toss. So having this notepad in every single one of the Planner Perfect Traveler's Notebooks is a major, major plus for me. I now have a central location where all of my scratch, you know, notes and ideas can go before I put them into my actual inserts. So this big pocket here, being also in the back, gives a lot of structure to this traveler's notebook. This particular portion is very floppy, but then when you take into consideration the pockets, you have, again, just very nice structure. It's not heavy at all. It is quite light considering the extra thickness you get from the pockets. And I'll actually show you my wide. And here I mentioned this one is called Hazel. So Hazel and Stella are very similar. They have a very similar texture. It's almost like, I wouldn't say fuzzy, but it does have kind of a fuzzy texture to it. It's soft. It's going to scratch easily, but you can also, you see right there, I can buff that scratch right out. And so that is another wonderful characteristic of these leathers. It scratches, but you can buff them out. And again, you have that kind of floppiness to it. Now my Hazel, you can kind of see it's a little bit softer than the Stella here. And I'm not sure if it's really because there's just more width to it, so it just makes it a little bit softer with that extra room, or if it's just, you know, this particular piece of leather. But it's definitely softer than my Stella. And it still has a very nice light weight to it, even though it's a wide. And again, you have the notebook that comes standard in the traveler's notebook itself. Same pocket configuration. This is going to be the same pocket configuration in every single one of the traveler's notebooks. Now, her wallet design is very different. I do have her wallet, but I will save that for another video. But as far as pockets, you can expect to see this layout in every single one of them. So again, you've got the two pockets on the left side. On the right, you have the place for the notepad, and then you have a big, there we go, a big back pocket here. Now, besides the notepad being a really just huge plus for me, I want to show you here, and I'm going to be putting my Chic Sparrow next to this, the difference in the elastic designs. So you can see here that the center elastic, it's actually the closure, has this piece of leather that keeps it flush to the notebook itself. So when you put your inserts on here, you don't have this large lump or extra strings sticking out that you then have, you know, kind of bumping up on your inserts and getting in the way and can sometimes be obnoxious. So this is a huge, I mean, a wonderful, wonderful design idea that Jenny created here, is to create a piece of leather there that brought that particular elastic closure to a flush position against the notebook, so it wasn't in the way of the inserts. And so I've got a bunch of my stuff in here still. So let me take all of this out and I will show you one of the Chic Sparrow notebooks. Probably should have taken all this out beforehand, but okay, so here we go. All right, so you can see here the knot that is in the center here, and that is from, sorry, I'm out of frame, totally. But this knot in the center is from that front elastic, that closure elastic. So this is kind of, it can sometimes get really obnoxious and annoying when you have your inserts in here. And then you also have the connection of the elastics that hold your inserts. So you have a knot here, and again, that can sometimes really get bothersome and annoying. So now the difference look at how just, I mean, how perfect this inside is. You don't have that obnoxious knot on the insert strings, and you don't have it in the center here. So this allows the inserts to sit so perfectly right against the spine. I mean, this really is genius. When I saw this before I even got one of her traveler's notebooks, I was just like, holy cow, this might be the answer for me, because traveler's notebooks really bothered me in the past because of the knots in the way. And then again, I didn't have a place to jot down my notes that I could just toss. So that was a game changer, big time game changer. And I'll put this aside. I don't want to get into the Chic Sparrow just yet, but I want to show you here the difference between the wide and the narrow. So the top one is narrow, bottom one is wide. And so you can see here the height is the exact same, but the width, you've got about 1.5 inches or so added for the width. Now, I have absolutely loved using the narrow for, it was April, May, and June, I was in the narrow. And then in July, I went into the wide. And the narrow just felt great to me because it just felt good in the hand. But the wide is very much growing on me. And it's still a wonderful size that does feel compact enough to me. Now, besides the elastic and the notebook here, one of my favorite features and why I'm really gravitating more towards the Planner Perfect Traveler's Notebooks is the reinforced spine. So Chic Sparrow, I think they do make a couple, or they might be discontinued actually, but they don't necessarily have many choices or any right now for reinforced spine. So you can see here how nice and flat the Planner Perfect was and how the Chic Sparrow is rounded. And let me use instead, because this is a narrow, let me put the narrow next to it so it's at the actual like same size here. So Planner Perfect, we've got nice flat spine. Chic Sparrow with theirs, it's curved. So of course, when you have inserts sitting in here, the inserts are not going to be in a nice straight line. They're going to kind of be curving with that spine. So that means some of the ones like in the front and the back are going to be sticking forward more than the ones in the center. And it may not bother a lot of people, but for me, it does get a little bothersome having the inserts at different positions, whereas when I'm using Planner Perfect, they're all perfectly lined up and flush, so I don't have any overhang with my inserts in this particular traveler's notebook. So Planner Perfect really has checked all the boxes for me recently. Jenny's leathers have solved a lot of the problems I had with traveler's notebooks in the past. Again, the notepad, the strings not being so obnoxious, and then my inserts sitting nice and flush. That checked all of the boxes for me. And with her leather quality being right up there with Chic Sparrow, I have certainly been gravitating more towards her leathers recently. And so showing you now that difference between the wide and the narrow, and talking a little bit about my Hazel and Stella, let me show you here what I'm currently in. This is Arabella. Now, of course, we have a very different texture here. So this is her Croc texture leather, and she is just absolutely gorgeous. I will say this leather had a much stronger smell to her when I first got her. So if you are sensitive to strong leather smells, this may not be the one for you. Now, it has lessened over the past few days since I've had her. You can let the leather kind of sit and air out a little bit, and it really takes care of some of that, harshness. But I'm in love with her. I just can't get enough of her. And she's very floppy as well, but the pockets provide so much wonderful structure. And you can kind of see here, just nice and bendy and floppy. The structure is wonderful with those pockets. I have my notepad in the back, and let me show you here how those notebooks sit flush. So this is a huge one for me. I don't have them kind of, bowing in with the front and back one sticking forward because of that roundness of the most travelers' notebooks. Not just, Chic Sparrow. A lot of them are designed that way. They don't have that reinforced spine. And this is just a wonderful design to me. I think it just looks so incredibly chic as well. And it looks rich. I love it. So when it comes to the quality, I think Jenny's really knocked it out of the park with these particular leathers. Now, these just have more of a put together design, I would say, compared to Chic Sparrow. These are just a little bit more, I don't even know how to describe it. The design itself, it doesn't feel as raw to me. When I'm holding my Chic Sparrow, this reminds me, oh yeah, this is a piece of leather. This gives me that leather handmade feel more so than the Planner Perfect ones. These seem to be a little bit more, and they are handmade, but guys, I don't even know how to describe it. I love them both. Both companies are my absolute favorites for travelers' notebooks. But the feel, again, for Chic Sparrow and the smell, it feels more handmade. Now, let me put my Planner Perfect ones aside here. I only have 2 Chic Sparrows to talk about. I have my, that's sliding around. I have my pocket, and then this is a, not a wide, narrow. This is a narrow. And my pocket right now, I have this set up as my fountain pen ink journal. So the pocket configuration is going to be as you see it right here. Now, one of the things that I'm not crazy about with the Chic Sparrow pockets is the direction that they're facing. So if I'm trying to pull things out, I find it very, very hard when all of my inserts are in here. So it's a little bit cumbersome to kind of work things in and out of the pockets there. So I'm not crazy about this. I wish they were kind of top loading pockets. And I do know that she has, I believe it's the Cascade line that have the top loading pockets. I much prefer that. It's so much easier. I mean, here I don't even use this pocket because it's so in the way of the insert there. And so that's a bummer to me that this goes unused. And I really don't use these other ones either, just because it's too bothersome. But I do love that secretarial pocket in the back. And that's what I have here in this particular notebook. But it's hard to tell with this one because I have a Leuchtturm pocket notebook in here, and then a very small Goulet pens insert here. So I've been really trying to work it to square out the spine, and it's not quite there yet. It does still kind of pop up because this is a stiffer leather. These two are from the Austen line. This particular one used to be Toffee. It is now Mr. Darcy. So it's Darcy from the Austen line. and I always wanted toffee. I only had buttered rum. I love this notebook so much. It's going to scratch very easily. Both of these are going to be really showing their age over time. So if you are not crazy about traveler's notebooks that scratch easily, this is not going to be for you. Now my Arabella here, she is not going to show wear. This is going to be nice and just, you know, beautiful and clean looking. No scratches are going to show up on her. So I definitely recommend you read the descriptions when you're looking online. If you're either at Chic Sparrow or Planner Perfect's website, they will go ahead and they'll put in the description the type of leather, whether it's going to scratch easily or not. So your Austen line is going to scratch easily. It is a firm, it's very much a firm traveler's notebook. So there's a lot of working with it if you want it to wrap perfectly around your inserts. I know a popular thing is to roll these particular leathers from Chic Sparrow. A lot of people love rolling out the Austen line because it softens it up and it just helps it to mold a little bit better. I have rolled this one a little bit. I don't know if you can even tell, but it kind of gives it a little bit of character with the wrinkles and the lines through here. Like here, these lines appeared after I did some rolling. But you risk the chance of, you know, messing up the stitching sometimes when you roll a leather. So you kind of have to weigh the pros and cons of what rolling can do for your notebook, or your traveler's notebook, that is. And so these two I love for the fact that they show wear and tear. I love the character that it gives. I love the smoothness and the shininess of this leather, and they smell wonderful. And it feels just, I mean, listen to that. Can you hear that? I don't know. I love the squeakiness. Like this. Yeah, you don't get that squeakiness. I don't know. I love the squeakiness of leather. And it just feels so good in the hand. It feels luxurious. It feels handmade. It feels high quality. So with the pocket designs that I showed you, you also have their new style of pen loop. Is designed to where it's definitely big enough to where I can fit a fountain pen in here. And this isn't even like the thickest pen that I have. Like my TWSBI Ecos are super thick. They fit in here no problem. But they eventually will start to fold in to lay nice and flush against your inserts. This one already does it. So when I have a fountain pen in there, it folds right in and it just lays nice and flush against there. So you can work with it and get it to lay whichever way you want it to. So it really is a hard decision, guys, because both of these companies have really knocked it out of the park with the quality and care that they put behind their designs. And you know, I hope that this was helpful just to give you some better ideas of, it's more so the little changes in designs between the two, with the elastics, with the spine itself. Those two things are, I think, the biggest when it comes to choosing a traveler's notebook. The elastic design and that reinforced spine or lack thereof is pretty much what I look for in a traveler's notebook. And I know that can really make or break the feel of it for a lot of people. So I hope being able to look at those two particular designs was helpful for you guys. And if you have any questions on either one of these companies and the leathers that I have, as I mentioned, there's so many leathers to choose from. And these are just a few of what you have as choices. But if you have any questions for what I currently have, I would be more than happy to answer and help you out. And I hope you enjoyed this and found it helpful. As always, I appreciate you all so very much. I will see you again soon in my next video. Bye.